How's it going? Welcome back. As you can see, today is casual day, and I'm going to be reviewing the Zhiyun Weebill Lab gimbal, which I've got with my Sony a7R III and the 16 to 35 millimeter lens right here. This is a brand new super light gimbal from Zhiyun. It's basically the smallest, most portable gimbal I've ever tried out. The great thing about this from a portability standpoint is if you take off this little mini tripod handle, you can hold it like this, which makes it much smaller, and you can also pack it down so it's super tiny. And then I can lock all these axes in place. Now I have an easily portable gimbal that will fit in a backpack, a regular backpack, not even a huge backpack. Now the question is, can this gimbal actually perform well enough? So that's what I'm going to test today. First thing I want to try, wide angle lens, walking around, getting shots of buildings. I have it in pan follow mode at the moment with the 16 to 35 millimeter lens all the way at 16 millimeters. Now one cool thing is I can just manually position the camera to any tilt position I want here, which lets me very easily frame up my starting frame for the shot. Okay, full lock mode. Now I'm switching over to pan follow mode, as you can see here. Two clicks of the trigger button resets the camera to its default position. Now I hold down the trigger button, and that allows me to tilt and pan. This is tilt and pan follow mode. Whoops, a little bit of a jerk there. I think maybe it's smoother if I start it sort of in flashlight mode. Okay, so what it seems like is this gimbal is a little bit prone to little jerks to the side and stuff like that. And it seems like if it's held in flashlight mode, it operates a little bit smoother. Maybe because I'm not stressing the motors as much. These are tiny motors, you know, it's a tiny gimbal with tiny motors. So it's probably not gonna have the same level of rock solid stability that the bigger gimbals have. So now I'm gonna enter POV mode. That's the mode where it follows your pan, tilt, and roll. So I click the POV button, which activates POV mode. Now it is following everything that I do, pan, tilt, roll. Now, there is another mode here called Go mode. This mode, when you press that button, when you hold down the button, it goes to a pan tilt follow mode that follows every nuance of your movement. This is sport mode on the Ronin S. I believe it's also called Go mode on the Crane 2. It's also a little tricky to use for normal types of camera movements because, again, it follows everything I do. It doesn't really smooth out my movements that much. So that was Go mode. I had to hold down this button with my finger to keep Go mode enabled, which is fine if you're holding your gimbal like this in a normal way. But if you have it mounted on like a monopod or something, it becomes a little bit of a pain when you can't enter Go mode without holding down a button. Just like this trigger for pan follow mode, if you have it on a monopod, how are you gonna hold down the trigger? With a rubber band? Yeah, so actually the solution there is to use your phone. I have one more mode to show you. This is called Vortex Mode, aka overused skateboard / breakdancing mode. You press the POV button twice. There we go. The camera tilts up. Now what you have to do is angle it back down towards your subject, and use the joystick, as I'm about to do here, and pull the joystick to the right. You're gonna pan right with your joystick, and then the Vortex spins. I'm gonna switch my handle position, putting the handle up here. This makes it easier to hold the gimbal like this, so I can do underslung mode. And I am going to do a running test, straightforward, full lock, nothing is following, full lock at 16 millimeters. Steady shot off. I move the handle back to this position. Steady shot still off. Now for the real test. I have it in APS-C mode on this camera, which adds a 50% zoom to the shot, and I've zoomed in this lens to 35 millimeters, and the steady shot is still off. So I'm gonna run straight forward, steady shot off, at 35 millimeters, zoomed in 50%. Effectively, I'm running with an unstabilized 50 millimeter full frame lens. Let's see how this looks. I'm now on the 55 millimeter f1.8 lens. I'm gonna try that one out in the gimbal. There's a special quick release plate I wanna talk about first though on this gimbal where you don't lose your balance by removing the camera. When I reattach it, it's locked in place like this. So the balance is retained. So if I wanna remove it, I press this button in and lift. If I wanna put it back in, then I just latch it back in like this and release and screw this back in to tighten it, and I keep my balance completely. You can carry around the gimbal perfectly balanced in your backpack and not have to worry about it slipping out of balance while you're traveling. And when you put it all back together, it only takes you, less than a minute to get going. So now with my 55 millimeter lens attached, I'm going to film the lovely Kobe, who until now has been filming me. So let's go for a walk. So what are my thoughts overall on this gimbal? Well, there's a lot more features that I haven't explored, so you have to take that in mind. There is a wireless HD transmission feature. There's also sort of a mimic mode where by moving your phone, you control the gimbal. I haven't reviewed that either. So based on the features that I've tried out, I feel like it's a really strong contender for the size. This is a super lightweight, super small gimbal. It's not gonna be quite as steady as the bigger, heavier gimbals on the market that are rated for heavier cameras. But I feel like if you're using a light enough lens and you're moving carefully with the gimbal, you will get steady footage. So that's my review so far. I may do a second part if I decide to try out some extra features. Otherwise, please like, subscribe, all that jazz. I'll see you next time.